Welcome back everyone to another Hearts of Iron 4 mod spotlight, and this time we'll be looking at Red World, which is a mod that is a sort of a semi-modification of Millennium Dawn, where the Soviet Union won the Cold War, supposedly. And we'll be looking at that. It's pretty interesting. It's basically just a very alpha version. It's not done. There are a few things that are in already that are interesting, but I've checked it and it isn't really playable, so I will not really be looking at it further for a while. So just looking at the world quickly, it starts in 2010 on the 1st of January. And of course, the big change is that the Soviet Union is still around. It's big, it's kind of strong. They have a stagnating economy, and they're the leaders of the Warsaw Pact. If we can go ahead and look inside. There is the Warsaw Pact, biggest faction in the game. They have expanded all the way to France, and they also have Germany and a whole bunch of other states in Italy as well, except Spain and Portugal and Yugoslavia. Those are, I believe, the only states in Europe. Oh, also Greece and Denmark. For some reason, Finland. Oh, right, because that I'll explain that later. So, most of the European states, except of course Switzerland, Yugoslavia, Spain, Portugal, and the Scandinavians, are in the Warsaw Pact. So far, there are no events to make Germany try to do its own thing, but it would be very interesting if it was, considering also the description of the mod says that Germany might decide to wrest control of the Warsaw Pact from the Soviet Union. Indeed, Germany is very strong in the mod. They have a nice little bit down here. Austria has been reunited for whatever reason with Germany. Not really sure how the Soviet Union will allow that. Then there is the British Isle Protection Union, which for some reason includes Ulster as an independent country. Because for some reason, both the UK, which is conservative, or no, actually social democratic, but yes, still democratic, for some reason, the UK and Ireland let Ulster be independent in the meantime. That everything else is happening, and not really quite sure as to how that is supposed to happen. There are a few other states around that are, of course, not done yet. For example, Denmark, Iceland, etc., that aren't part of any faction. Then there is the Democratic League, essentially the new NATO, with Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii from former Western Hemisphere nations, and of course Australia as well. New Zealand for some reason is nationalist, so no New Zealand there. Then there's of course the East, where there's China, strong, big, well, not very strong, but hopefully one day very strong. I don't think there's really anything for China done yet. Korea, yeah, Korea, and Japan, which is gonna be, looks like, the main sort of aggressive right-winger type of country. For some reason they changed their flag for some really strange reason, and they control some places around. I believe they took over some areas that were formerly controlled by the US in the collapse of the United States. Now, speaking of the collapse of the United States, of course, this is a mod where the Soviets win the Cold War, and so it is the United States that collapses instead of the Soviet Union. We have three main factions on the edges: the People's Commonwealth, the Republic, and the UAPR. The UAPR is a Soviet-aligned state, so they're going to be trying to work together with the Soviet Union, whatever happens. And they're going to be their loyal little friend. The American Republic, led by Rumsfeld, interesting, is a sort of remnant of the United States that once was. They control Washington, D.C., and their main territory is in the southern states. And the People's Commonwealth, Chomsky, is here, and they're trying to sort of establish a new republic in America that can lead a world revolution against both capitalism and Soviet Stalinist type politics. Of course, the Soviet Union changed its flag to a flag that includes the world in it, so perhaps they're kind of right. For some reason, the Soviet flag is different, but I'm not sure. And then in the middle, there's a ton of different little countries that all of them have their own little ideology. I'm pretty sure that there's supposed to be one for each. So, for example, if we go look at the ideology screen, you can see that there's quite a few. There's fascist, nationalist, and monarchist on the extreme right wing. And then there's National Bolshevik still around there, which is, let's just say that shouldn't exist. Conservatives, centrists, liberals, New Democrats, aka Social Democrats, moderate socialists, aka still Social Democrats, revolutionary socialists, and communists. So those are the ideologies, and I'm pretty certain that there's one for each in America now. Of course, all of these, once the American focus trees are complete, which so far they aren't, none of the focus trees are complete except the generic one, which we'll be looking at. Once the focus trees for these three Americans on the edges, on the fringes, are complete, I'm fairly certain that all these are going to get gobbled up fairly quickly and are going to get fought over by various different powers in the air. For some reason, Mexico has New Mexico. I like that. I like that panhandle type of border over there. It's pretty funny. Mexico is indeed right wing. Latin America and in general, and also Brazil, haven't really changed a lot. Brazil is liberal. It would be nice once, of course, everything else is complete, to have a focus tree where Brazil can try to reestablish a sort of liberal Southern American order, trying to expand its own faction like that. There's Argentina, which is right wing. Then there's a few socialist countries like Bolivia and Chile. Peru is nationalist, okay. And then a few other states are liberal. You are communist. You're also communist, and you're also communist. So tons of different. Ooh, Central America, sure. So Soviet aligned state there. Cuba, of course, normal. Haiti and the Dominicans probably gonna kill each other, as they always do. A few states in Dominica. Well, some of these are pretty funny. Of course, they still don't have any flags, but eventually they're gonna be hopefully interesting. Americans are still in Puerto Rico. Who's in the Bermudas? The United Kingdom. Okay, so as expected, Africa is mostly normal, except Somalia stayed with a left-wing government, as maybe was to be expected. Ethiopia as well. I would like to see that one of these two went with the revolutionary socialist and the other one with the communist, so that they can, of course, fight each other as they historically did. Also, I'm guessing that Djibouti in this timeline shouldn't really exist, but hey, I'm not gonna complain. The United Arab Republic is still around, and it's revolutionary socialist. So, yeah, United Arab Republic, also pretty interesting little place. Without Lebanon, the Greater Lebanese Republic. Palestine is there. Now, I would have liked to see a Soviet-aligned Israel instead, or maybe even just Israel, because I think that would make this entire area a lot more interesting in general, with alliances and conflicts between various different powers. Iraq is nationalist. I'm guessing that once the offer gets around to making portraits and leaders for all the minor states, this is going to be Saddam coming in again. Libyan Union, interestingly, without the green flag, but I'm guessing that this is supposed to be the future sort of Gaddafi-like Libya. It is National Bolshevik, so. Socialist Union of Algeria, Morocco. Morocco's monarchist. Okay. And yes, then there's a few other states around. Some of these are aligned with the Soviets. Some of these, Central African Empire is pretty funny. That's actually something that I'm fairly certain it's kind of a joke. And yeah, because there was this guy who proclaimed himself Emperor of Central Africa during the World War, so weird. Nice little Easter egg, I'm guessing. Mozambique, Zimbabwe, all these are around. Greater Madagascar, of course, the Nazis are in Madagascar. India is fairly the same, except the Soviets won in Afghanistan. So, of course, Afghanistan is part of the Warsaw Pact. Not a puppet of the Soviet Union, interestingly enough. Iran is liberal, so no Islamic Revolution. in there, which is sad. Actually, they could have made the Islamic Revolution into a national Bolshevik. They could have fitted into the national Bolsheviks, and that would be pretty funny. But I'm guessing that the liberals. So I'm not sure if the Shah's still supposed to be around. Burmese Union. Yeah, the Southeast Asia is pretty much gonna be split. I'm guessing between Chinese aligned, Soviet aligned. Thailand is New Democratic, so they could be aligned with Australia later on. Malaya, monarchist. People's Federation of Borneo. Indonesia is indeed communist, so aligned with the Soviets. And Burma is revolutionary. Of course, Japan, once its focus tree is complete, I'm guessing is going to be... Oh god, no. Oh, no. Let's look away from that. Yeah, I'm guessing that Japan is going to be really the main instigator of trouble along with China. Now, the description for China did hint that China might be collapsing, which is weird because I'm guessing that in this timeline they didn't do their... Well, because of all the troubles in the 80s, there wasn't really any Chinese boom expansion due to China opening its markets to Western, of course, Western economies, and its, of course, economic boom is kind of one of the main reasons why it's a big economic power today. But China's still pretty strong in this timeline, so who knows? Who knows? And yes, so let's just run the clock a little bit. There's only one event chain that's kind of out there already, and that's for the Soviet Union. So let's see if we can get them. Now, the leader of the Soviet Union is Dmitry Yazov, and he's part, of course, of the communist ideology, which is, of course, supposed to be kind of the Brezhnev, I'm guessing, line of what was happening in the Soviet Union. In the meantime, while we wait for that, and interestingly, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting the events, but let's just look at the focus tree in the meantime. There is one for foreign affairs that... Oh, okay, so there are the events happening. So 2010 Winter Olympics. So there's one, of course, for the armed forces, just standard. Few research bonuses. There it is. He's assassinated. We lose political power, and we get an election for the new chairman. And this is what I'm guessing will lead to what the Soviet Union will do. So there's four choices. There's Putin, who is the hardliner. Zyuganov, who is the successor of Yazov and kind of a moderate type of deal. Rutskoy, who is kind of a middle ground between Zyuganov and Gorbachev, who can come back in and try to reform the Soviet Union. So far, I don't think this has any effect. It just changes around who your leader is supposed to be in the picture, but it doesn't really lead to anything. But of course, once the mod gets developed, this is going to be turned into what the Soviet Union will try to do, and that's kind of an interesting little four-way choice. Of course, the AI seems, from what I've played, what I've let it done. So I've read it run the choice a few times. It seems to choose mostly Zyuganov and sometimes Putin, and never Rutskoy or Gorbachev. So, yeah, he looks old enough. I wanted to check if his picture looked sufficiently aged, or if he looked like he was from 1991. Okay, so just gonna be looking quickly at the focus tree, and then I'm gonna leave you at that. Of course, the link will be in the description for the mod, and of course, credit goes to the mod creator. All very interesting stuff in the army stuff. Very cool what they've done with the America Foreign Affairs. So you can recognize one of the three states, and then you can get different bonuses from whatever you do. So if you recognize the UAPR, aka the Soviet America and on the Pacific, you get some national unity for some reason. But if you recognize the Commonwealth, you get research, and if you recognize the Remnant, you get army experience. Then you can do some stuff with Canada, South America, just relations in general. And then you can do, of course, in the center, you can either try to get your own faction, or you can get membership in the Warsaw Pact or the Democratic League. I'm guessing that once the Japanese stuff is completed, they'll have their own faction, and once the Chinese stuff is completed, they'll have their own faction as well, and you might be able to join those. In the Middle East, you can do stuff with the UAR and Iran and India. Then, of course, Turkey, Spain. Oh, there's an EU actually. There's literally the EU-SSR. So, of course, Germany, I'm guessing, is going to be the leader of that once German stuff in the focus tree are completed. But so far, it's only a modifier. Interestingly, I think it's a little overpowered. It gives 40% factory output, which is insane. It's even more than the EU's 30%, I believe, in Millennium Dawn. And the members of the USSR are the Warsaw Pact countries that are in Europe. So, of course, Germany. I believe also... No. Fuck you. Clicked the wrong thing. Yeah. So the two, Netherlands and Belgium. Luxembourg. Oh, you're still around. You're not part of Belgium. Interesting. France, Italy, who has Giorgio Napolitano. Okay, sure. Albania. Interesting little place. I wonder if that will become even more interesting. Ooh, they have a navy. Why does Albania have a navy and nobody else? Well, that's very weird. Okay, sure. I've never noticed that. I'm guessing that's left over from Millennium Dawn. Oh well. Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia. Yes, Czechoslovakia is still around, of course. Poland. Of course, not the Soviet Union. And not the Danish, because the Danish are revolutionary. So, of course, if they get focus trees to unite the EU-SSR, that would be pretty ridiculous. They would become incredibly, incredibly strong. Because, of course, you get that 40% factory output, and then if we continue looking in the focus trees, once you get past all of the diplomatic stuff, you get into the political stuff. And if you choose the old Bolsheviks, which is, of course, the communist, if you have Germany, that's most likely what they'll choose. Pretty much most of the time with the Socialist Party, they can go and force quotas and get 30% factory output on top of the 40% that they already have from the USSR. So I'm guessing that either of these two needs to get nerfed, or else Germany will just become ridiculous. With 70% factory output in that, and then on the left side of the tree, as we'll be looking at later, there's this focus on output, 25% more, so 95% factory output from those things. That's a little insane. And of course, you may even have later some type of economy minister that does that. Interventionist. Let's see if Germany has any different ministers. Now, so far it looks like frugal and interventionist are the only ones that are around for the economy. Yeah, okay. But one day there's going to be new ministers, and of course that would be pretty bad if there's something that increases your factory output again, that's bringing you at 100% or more with Germany. So yes, Germany, very strong so far. There's, of course, you can choose the new... well, there's these three different things. There's the spirit of the people, the spirit of the nation, and the spirit of freedom. Blah, blah, blah. Of course, you can then move down onto different little paths depending on what you want. Usually what I've seen is that the last one that you get, the last focus, is really, really powerful. So for example, for the National Bolsheviks, you can get minus 30% justified war goal and 2% recruitable population. For the old Bolsheviks, you don't really get a lot, but you get some very, very powerful normal ones. So of course, enforced quotas, plus 30% output, ridiculous, absurd, incredibly powerful. 5% socialist science, very good. 10% organization, 15% attack, and then plus 0.5 political power per day. So the old Bolsheviks, no real big single national focus, but some ridiculously powerful. Holy shit, look at that. Plus 50% factory output from Red Economy. So also some pretty ridiculous stuff from the National Bolsheviks. Then there is some really bad ones for the Revolutionary Socialists, except for this rapid nationalization, which is okay. It's not too bad. Of course, meant for big nations that have a lot of manpower already, because that's minus 1% recruitable pop. And then some okay stuff with fight on two fronts, but considering that they're gonna be pretty much politically isolated from a lot of different other countries, then that's kind of actually a little bit underwhelming. Then there is the Spirit of the Nation, right-wing, totalitarian stuff, monarchist, pretty powerful with work for the crown, tons of military factory construction speed, but what's really good is the Army of the Crown, which is 20% division organization. Not bad at all. Also some decently powerful other things in the middle. The Fallen Eagle would be fascist, and fascist, of course, reduces your recruitable pop because they purge people. They get a lot of polypower to quickly expand their cabinets and stuff, and then they get the Age of Glory, which is a decent amount of factory output, but mostly, of course, justifying world roles much quicker, so that you can gobble up people very quickly. Ultranationalism is the Japanese ideology, I believe. Wait, National Conservative, right? Oh no, National Conservative is actually the more moderate one. The Nationalist is the American ideology, so Rumsfeld. So that's, yeah, that's Nationalist. Okay, then you get the Nationalist military, Jingoism, of course, Nationalist education, and All for the Nation. Pretty mediocre, actually. I would have expected them... Well, they get a lot of recruitable population, so they're going to be able to throw in tons of troops into the fight. It looks like it's going to be pretty much the ideology to go with if you want to have a really powerful minor state. For example, oh, imagine Nigeria with that. I wonder if they have the... Oh god, look at that. Yeah, they would get some pretty ridiculous levels of recruitable pop, but no, I'm really thinking about somebody that doesn't really have a large amount of manpower to draw upon from the start. For example, Spain would be one of those countries, but Ireland, Sweden, especially Sweden, would be really good with that type of ideology. Then you get, of course, the democracies. Now you can get the moderate socialists, the New Democrats, aka the Social Democrats. So these two other Social Democrats. Then there's the centrists and liberals, and then the conservatives. Conservatives try to go for, of course, some more military stuff and really powerful corporate aid, plus 30% factory output. Social liberals, of course, trying to expand, just expand the economy, expand the recruitable population of the stuff. And sure, liberal military command is very powerful with the centrists, because they can get 20% division organization with that. Very nice. And also United Nation, plus 5% national unity, 2% research time, 20% research gain efficiency from the centrist is also pretty powerful. Then there's the New Democrats, which are also pretty good, minus 7% recruitable, or consumer goods factories. Some very good stuff in there as well. Decent amount of recruitable pop, and quite a lot of monthly population from the welfare state. So they're going to be able to grow quite quickly. Good for people who already have a lot of population. For example, India, with the New Democracy, would be very powerful. Yeah, also plus 6% monthly population from the social programs. So they have some pretty nice population growth. So for example, right now, if we go look at India, now, tag INC, tag, what would be the Indian tag? I'm not sure. Let's just observe. And go to India, take control. So let's run the game for a day to see. Okay, so they already have, wow, look at that, 5,000 recruitable monthly growth. If we were to, What was that tag? Or command? Like, focus instant complete? Something like that? Oh, I really should have looked at that before. I really should have looked at this before making the video. I always forget these commands. Research line, click, add opinion. I'm looking for the instant focus. Focus autocomplete, okay. Okay, so unfortunately we're gonna have to capitalism with Indian. Okay, so it's like obviously supposed to be the mirror of what China did, what China says with socialism with Chinese characteristics. Interesting little thing. Plus 5% national unity, -5 for consumer goods. Wow, really good. But -5 political power, not too good. Yes. So I'm just gonna let the political focus finish. In the meantime, let's look at the left, which is the industrial stuff. The industrial stuff is pretty weak. You only get 1 factory per focus on both military and civilian side of things. You can of course later choose between military and civilian, and then at the end you get 2. So it's mostly meant for small states to quickly grow their industry, but for big states this isn't really gonna be affecting a whole lot. Because it's only 1 for every 70 days. It's really not a lot. Then in infrastructure, it's just pretty normal. You can get -10% supply consumption there for work with the military and plus 10% land forts, so that's pretty decent. Then what's really strong is the research part. So you can get industrial advancements, just normal. And then you can choose cooperate with the corporations or the government knows best. The government knows best, of course, gets 25% factory output, and you get to choose between research slot and factory output. So that's a very hard choice that, of course, a lot of people are going to have to make. If you're someone like India that has a lot of slots already, then that's fine. But if you're like Mongolia, then you may choose the research first. And then you can go down and get some electronics or industry or technology, construction. All of this is the same, the continuous focuses. Yes, let's try to see how much growth we can get with the New Democrats. Wait, what? Hold on. Oh, you can only choose what your current ruling party is. Weird. I'm guessing that that's going to limit the amount of things that the AI is going to be changing. Like they're going to have, of course, problems switching around ideologies. Not sure if that's going to be possible even for them. But yeah, look at that. We just basically doubled our manpower growth, which is pretty insane. So if you're looking to get more manpower, New Democracy also, along with nationalism, is pretty okay. It's going to be better in the long term, but worse in the short term. So yeah, I don't think there's really anything else. Well, let's just quickly look at the cabinet things that they've done. Instead of political advisors, you have this cabinet thing where you can get different ministers that have different bonuses. They're usually not too strong, but also not too weak. And kind of interesting in that they change and improve, and penalize you in a lot of different fields at once. So the research and production stuff, I believe, is the same, except for the scientists, where you can get these, but all of these are pretty uninteresting so far. Yeah, so for example, the Realpolitik faction for the foreign minister, he decreases your national unity and your improved relations, but he increases your political power and your subversive action cost. So you can see that all of these have various different effects, and that's kind of nice. So it makes choosing things a little bit more important. The tech tree is the same as Millennium Dawn. So yeah, nothing new there. And yeah, so I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this mod spotlight. As always, link will be in the description. Do try it out for yourself if you want, and I'll see you soon.